Hello, fellow tech enthusiasts, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to install Arch Linux from scratch. It's the final release of Arch ISO for this year, and so to mark the occasion, I've added some goodies into the mix. Hope you can join me on this latest Arch adventure. The goodies this time around will be BTRFS with autosnap through Timeshift, auto boot backups for kernel upgrades, Pipewire, Zram for compressed swapping to system memory, solid-state disk tweaks, and a bunch of other stuff. So without further ado, let's get going. Here is our December 2021 Arch ISO boot screen. This is going to be a video with lots of typing, so I'd like to remind you to press pause at any time should you need to catch up with all the commands I'll be typing in today. Let's get started. So first off, what I'd like to do is hit E and go into the grub line here and add the option video equals 1920 by 1080 so that I make better use of my KVM screen resolution. And as you can see, we are rewarded with a tiny text that I'm about to fix with set font ter-128n. So as you can see, we're running Arch Linux 5.15.5. The Arch flavor, so that's fairly recent kernel, but we'll be using the Linux-LTS kernel today. So if you need to refer to any of the commands I'm typing today with the documentation, go to this website, https://wiki.archlinux.org. It'll give you all the background information that you could ever want, not just for Arch, but also for Linux in general. So if you have any questions on any of the commands I'm typing today, they're all described here on this massive wiki that's available for free. Okay, if you want to remote install via SSH to your install machine, you definitely want to set the root password now. And that's assuming you have an IP address already. If you don't, if you have Wi-Fi, use IWCTL and just do station WLAN 0 connect and whatever your network name is. And you should get you connected to Wi-Fi. IWCTL is very smart. That's if you don't have an Ethernet connection like I do here. That should get you going. Of course, we don't have Wi-Fi on this KVM, so it'll fail, but that's how you do it. So we have the internet address, or Ethernet address, 10.1.10.188. It's a /27 subnet. It's my private secure subnet I have set up here for these demonstrations. So it looks like we're golden on networking. All right, so we've got an 8 gig RAM machine today, so we'll use that for setting up our swap. Let's do a time date CTL, set NTP true for network time protocol. Set up reflector for our mirrors. I'm in the US. I like the protocol is HTTPS, latest 5. We'll sort by rate and we'll write it out to /etc/pacman.d mirror list. Again, if you're in a different country, definitely make the adjustments here, at least with the country. You may have to increase or decrease the latest 5 line of mirrors, depending on how many mirrors your country actually has. You may not have 5, depending on the size of your country. So again, make the changes as you see fit, depending on your geographic location. It takes a little bit. Measures the rate for all the mirrors, it sorts them by speed. So here's our mirror list file. And it appears that mirror.hackingandcoffee is the fastest for my location. And the slowest for my location of the top 5 is mirror.lty .me. So very handy little tool to rate the speed of the mirrors for this installation. Every bit counts. Every bit of speed. All right. So let's synchronize the databases with pacman-syy. And let's do an LSBLK and take a look at all our block devices that are available to the system. So for today, as you can see, I have VDA as a 64 gig disk. That will be the disk we will install Arch Linux onto. If you are on bare hardware, for older machines, typically you'll see SDA or SD something instead of VDA. If you have a newer, faster machine with solid state drives, for example, you might see NVMe 0 and 1 or something like that with NVMe on it. So just keep that in mind that we're installing on a VDA today, but your install disk may be very different. Just substitute the name of your disk for the next few commands. So let's gdisk it with a GPT partition table. Let's create the 600 megabytes EFI partition. That's EF00 code. And we'll label that EFI. That's our first partition. Next partition will be our swap partition, which will be 9G. That is 8G plus 1G because I like to have hibernation available. And for hibernation to work, you want to have it a little bit bigger than RAM size. My rule of thumb is RAM size plus 1 gig. So 8 plus 1 is 9. Swap is 8200, 8200 hex rather. We'll label it swap. And the rest of the drive will be the root partition, and that is code 8300 hex. And looks like we have all three partitions set up. EFI, 600 megabytes, swap is 9 gigs, and the rest is the root file system. So we can go ahead and write that to the partition table. Confirm with Y. All right, so LSBLK shows us our new block device layout, where you can see under VDA, we've got VDA 1, 2, and 3. You may have SDA 1, 2, and 3, or with newer machines, you'll likely have NVMe 0 and 1 P1, NVMe 0 and 1 P2, and P3. You get the drift. So that's what it'll look like for you guys. All right, so let's take care of the EFI partition by doing a VFAT format on dev VDA1. We'll make swap on dev VDA2. We'll swap on, or turn on swap on dev VDA2. And then we'll use BTRFS file system for our root file system. Why BTRFS? Because I found that for very little system overhead, it makes snapshots very easy for a rolling release like Arch Linux, where you constantly get fresh software and security patches, and so it's a continuously living, evolving system. And if something happens to go wrong, or you make a mistake, or you're trying to learn things and experiment, you'd like to be able to roll back to an earlier snapshot if needed and rescue your system that way. So we'll label this as root /dev /VDA3. And as you can see, it set some settings here. It enabled dupe for metadata, no holds, and it enabled the free space tree. And so that looks good. So we'll continue. And let's mount it with mount dev VDA3 on /mount. Let's cd into /mount. And let's create the root subvolumes with BTRFS SUCR at, and then we'll do the same thing for at home for the subvolume. We'll create the var subvolume and the data subvolume. And let's unmount that. So what we've done basically is set up the BTRFS subvolume layout to be compatible with Timeshift, which expects separate at root and at home subvolumes. I like to keep the var subvolume separate because all the logs go in there and everything. I don't want that caught with my snapshots. I also like a separate data subvolume. This is where I store my virtual machine images, ISOs, etc., large files. Also, for my gaming devices, I put my Steam library in there in data. So that's the layout I use, and it's been serving me well these past months. So let's go ahead and continue with mounting with the options compress equals Z standard, no access time, subvolume equals at, dev VDA3 on mount. That's our root subvolume. Let's create our mount points with make-dir-p /mount or mnt / curly brace boot /EFI, home, var, and data, close curly brace. And then we'll do an up arrow twice, and let's take care of the home subvolume, mounted on mount home. Same thing with the var subvolume, mounted on var. And the data subvolume and mounted on data. So as you can see, I've continued to use the same mount options. These are very good for my SSD drives. Everything works great for modern systems. Again, your experience may vary, but I would suggest these options to start with. I didn't have to type these over and over again. Typically with BTRFS, once you define the options in the root subvolume, you don't have to keep doing it with all the other subvolumes under root. I just did it because I'm lazy. I didn't want to erase all that. So anyway, up arrow for the win. So let's mount the EFI partition with this command for VDA1. So there we go. Another LSBLK shows that VDA1 is mounted on /mount /boot /EFI. Our swap partition is available. And VDA3 has the following subvolumes mounted, all under /mount, which is our install top level. So we can continue now, and let's packstrap into /mount. Base, BTRFS-progs, Git, Intel-microcode, Linux-LTS for long-term support, Linux-firmware, Nano, and Vim. Those are basic installation packages that we'll need to use to install the rest of the system. And packstrap just kind of is a play on words from bootstrap. So that's how Arch happens with the bootstrapping. So through the magic of video editing, this will take no time for me at all. Depends on your networking speed here, obviously. So it pulls it from the internet. Okay, so that's done. So now we can move on and generate the file system table with genfs tab -u/mount and write it to /mount/etc/fs tab. And we can arch-root to /mount. So now we're change rooted. And let's take a look at the file system table. And as you can see, all our BTRFS subvolumes are mounted. Our swap, our EFI, VFAT partition, everything looks good. So it, in addition to compress Z standard and no access time, you'll see that the compression level is 3. It's selected, that's the default. Seems to work very well in my testing. It also added space_cache equals V2. So we used to have to do that manually before. Definitely check the wiki for what all these options do and make sure you're okay with how they work with your particular hardware and storage. So everything looks good to me. So it's good to continue here, and let's ln-sf user share zoneif info /America/Los Angeles. That is my time zone. Your time zone may very well be different. So just substitute this zone info file for your own, and you want to link it to etc local time. That's how you set your time zone. So let's sync the hardware clock with --sys2hc. And good. Let's generate the locale file by using sed to uncomment en_us.utf-8. You can do that with the sed command here in etc locale.gen, and then run the locale-gen command. And that sets up your locale. But we also want to echo, in quotes, lang equals en_us.utf-8, and put that in /etc/locale.conf. All right, that's done. Let's set the host name with echo Archie into etc hostname. So Archie will be our host name today. Let's take care of hosts with echo 127.0.0.1 localhost into etc hosts. That'd be IP version 4. IP version 6 is ::1 for localhost. Let's put that in etc hosts. And finally, let's echo 127.0.1.1 archie.localdomain and Archie. Let's put that in etc hosts. So let's review what we've done to etc hosts with cat etc hosts. As you can see, our 3 lines are in there. So this is the basic setup for Archie in etc hosts. Looks good. All right, so let's give root a password. Because we're change rooted already, this password command will modify the change rooted password file. So root has this password baked into the final installed product. So let's synchronize the data package databases with pacman-syy, because next up we'll be installing a whole bunch of packages with pacman-s acpi_call. I want ACPI daemon, ALSA firmware. I also want ALSA plugins, ALSA utils, Avahi. I'll put a new line in here for sanity. I want base-devel, blues-utils, cups, dialog, DNS utils, DOSFS tools, EFI boot manager, grub. Put a new line in here. Checking, make sure I didn't typo anything. Looks good. We'll do GVFS, the virtual network file systems, GVFS-SMB for Samba shells, HPLIP, inet utils, Linux-LTS-headers, mtools, network manager. Do a new line in here. The next we'll do network manager applet. We'll do NFS utils, NSS-MDNS, NTFS-3G, OpenSSH, OS Prober, Pipewire. I will do a new line here and add Pipewire ALSA, Pipewire Jack, Pipewire Pulse, Reflector, rsync, system-config-printer, new line, terminus, what we're using right now, terminus font, TLP, WPA_supplicant, XDG-user-dirs, XDG-utils, whoop, a little typo there, supplicant, that's for our Wi-Fi, Z shell, because I like using that, and the grml-z shell-config, and these packages are what I use as the bare minimum boiled down core to get a fully functional and productive Arch Linux system up and running, minus of course the desktop, which we'll do later. So let's go ahead and hit enter for all the defaults. We want to install everything here. And with the magic of video editing, we can make this very short. Again, depending on your network speed, a lot of packages to download. And it's done. All right, so let's install grub with grub-install --target equals x86_64-EFI --EFI-directory equals boot/EFI, and the bootloader ID will be Arch Linux. And that will install the grub, yes, but I like to add the bootloader ID for Arch Linux because if you're doing multi-boot or dual boot with Windows or whatever, you'll see Arch Linux in your firmware boot list on your hardware, so you can identify your Arch Linux installation. All right, so it's installing for our EFI platform, and it's done. No error reported. Let's fix etc default grub here with nano. I need to add again video equals 1920 by 1080. Chances are you won't need to do this, so just need to do a quick fix on /etc/default/grub so that my KVM has the proper boot resolution. All right, so now that's done. We'll do a grub-make config -o/boot/grub/grub.cfg. And we'll hit enter, and it's done. So the group menu entries are in place. Let's do enabling some services. ACPID I want. I also want Avahi, a daemon. And another service is Bluetooth with systemctl enable. The printing with cups. Also the trim timer for my solid state drive. I also want to enable network manager to enable network configurations, very important. Also want reflector.timer. And another up arrow. Up arrow works so wonderfully here. The secure shell daemon and TLP for power management, especially if you have a laptop, that works very well. All right, let's add myself to the user list. I want bin Z shell as my shell. I want to be added to the groups sys, log, network, floppy, scanner, power, RF kill, users, video, storage, optical, and we'll do a new line here without the space. Line printing group, audio, wheel for sudo and ADM, and my login name will be Steven. Let me give myself a password. Enter my password once and twice. And there we go. My account's enabled. Let's vi sudo so I can sudo later by uncommenting wheel here in the sudoers file. And that's good. So vi sudo is handy to have. All right. Let's nano etc make init copyio.conf because I'd like to be able to live file system check BTRFS. So I need to add BTRFS to the binaries. We'll write that to make init copyio.conf because then we can make init copyio-p a linux-lts, which is our desired kernel for this install. LTS is very stable. That's done. So let's go to reflector and etc xdg. And let's back up the reflector.conf file. And let's create a new reflector.conf. And we'll do the same thing as we did in the beginning of this video. We'll define the country as US, the protocol as secure HTTP, latest 5, again as before. I'd like to sort by rate. And we'll save it in /etc/pacman.d/mirrorlist. And there we go. So this will run on a timer. I think once a week or something like that. I forgot. So our mirrors are kept up to date. So let's do the boot backup hook. Let's create that hooks directory in pacman.d. And let's nano 50-boot backup -hook. And so let's two sections. The first one is the trigger section. So for operation upgrade, operation install, operation remove, type equals path, and the path will be a target of user no leading slash lib modules star vmlinux. And the action section will be depends on rsync existing, which we installed earlier. The description will be backing up /boot ellipsis, and when equals pre-transactions before it messes with boot using pacman, it takes care of this action. We'll exec rsync, and we'll back up /boot to /boot -backup. And so what this hook does for pacman is for every kernel upgrade or modules or anything it touches in there during updates, it automatically backs up your /boot directory. So very, very handy, especially if you have a rolling file system like Arch Linux. So, okay, let's write this out. So our boot backup hook is taken care of. Very simple. So let's exit and unmount because we've got our basic system installed. And let's reboot. And there's Arch Linux, our Arch Linux entry. And there you go. So now you have a full installation of Arch. And if that's all you want to do, no desktop or any of the programs, you are good to go and you can stop watching this video now. However, if you're curious as to what I have next, let's proceed. So let me log in to Archie. I'm Steven. Give my password. There's the nice Z shell. Let's do again set font ter-128n so you can read what I'm typing. Let's sudo pacman-syy, enter my password for sudo. Got our package databases synchronized. Let's git clone https://aur.archlinux.org/yay, because I want yay for AUR. Let's cd into the build directory and do a make package-si package build. And we trust the AUR package builder here and do the installation. And it's done. So let's cd back into our home directory, remove the build directory, and let's test yay. Looks like we've got AUR available now, and it's working. So let's install yay-s Zram daemon for Zram compressed RAM swap. And let it do its thing, and it's done. So let's sudo systemctl enable now zramd service. And what it does is it turns on the swap. So as you can see here, our swap went from 9 GB to 16. So it adds the compressed RAM swap to the total. And that comes in very handy because you want to avoid wear and tear on your solid-state drive by swapping to RAM whenever possible. And if it runs out of that, it will the kernel won't panic or cause processes to be killed if it can also expand into the traditional swap partition on disk. So I found this to be very, very convenient and performative for kernel swapping. So moving right along. Next, let's sudo pacman-syy. Let's make sure we're up to date with our databases. Let's install Plasma, KDE-applications, KDE-NLive, LibreOffice Fresh. And let's put a new line in here. And let's install Celluloid, Firefox, OBS-Studio, SDDM Display Manager, Thunderbird Email, Transmission-Qt BitTorrent Client, VLC, and Xorg. And we'll just hit enter for everything here, for all the defaults. Install everything. And let's proceed with the installation. And we'll skip over via video editing a lot of this tedious downloading and installing. And it's a lot of packages to install. It's the whole KDE Plasma 5 desktop environment. And it's done. All right, so let's clear the terminal. And let's enable our display manager, SDDM. Okay, now that's done. Let's yay some additional packages with yay-s TTF MS fonts, TrueType fonts for Microsoft Web Fonts, Nota fonts, TTF Roboto, TTF Inconsolata, I like. So let's install those. And again, I like to hit enter for all the defaults. So it's downloading the web fonts, installing everything. All right. So also yay-s timeshift-autosnap I want. That pulls in Timeshift itself. And the uncomplicated firewall, GUFW or UFW, your choice. So that installs, it builds everything and installs it. So well, through the video editing, I can skip a lot of this stuff here. And it's done. Nice and quick. All right, guys. Looks like we are set. Let's reboot our new system. And we should be greeted with SDDM. There it is. If you have other desktops installed, you can choose your session here. But we've got Plasma X11 here. Let me log in. And there it is. KDE Plasma 5 in all its glory, the latest version. Here you'll find your Wi-Fi connections if you have them. Let's switch to dark theme to be easier on my eyes. Let's fix the screen resolution quickly here. Apply that. Looks good, so we'll keep it. All right, let's fix the wallpaper here, make it a little less bright. My eyes don't hurt. I'll try Ella Run today. Hit apply. Bam, there you go. A quick theming customization here. So you've got everything here. Everything you need. Looks like we've got a successful KDE installation. Let me enable NTP time synchronization quickly. And check that. So Conquer we don't need. Let's put in Firefox instead. And let's check to make sure our time is synchronized. Time.is. It's exact. Works. As you can see, you've got everything here. Firewall. You can configure your uncomplicated firewall here. Power management, Bluetooth. We don't have any Bluetooth adapters, but you can set that here on your device. Printing is enabled and fully configured. Just download your drivers. So this is what we're running. Looks like everything is working. Let me just open the console here quickly. Do we have LSB release? I don't think we do. Okay. Instead, let me look at the file system table again. Still the same as before. Let's check the mirror list here. That's also the same. Looks like we've got a good system. We're using only 845 megabytes. That's not bad for a full desktop with all the trimmings. Let's do PACTL info. We're running Pipewire 0.3.40. All right. That's also good. So let's do a time shift before we do anything else. You want to do that. So VDA 3, default snapshot levels are okay. No home, but we want BTRFS queue groups. And we'll finish and we'll create our first snapshot. Look how fast that is. ButterFS for the win. Running Timeshift 21.09.1. Okay, so we're ready to send this system off to the customer or to yourself as a personal system because you're ready to go. So thus endeth the installation. This is the latest golden path for all my Arch installations the past couple of weeks, on desktops and even gaming laptops, and I've had great results so far. Your experience and hardware will likely be different, but I hope this will get you started on your own adventures with Arch. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring the notification bell so you won't miss out on any video. Have fun, and see you next time.